Real Talk with Grace Redman features conversations with fierce and fabulous people from Grace's community and circle who inspire others with their stories of overcoming challenges to create amazing. Grace is an entrepreneur and success coach who works with individuals to diminish their negative mental chatter, boost their confidence, achieve their goals, and increase their prosperity mindset. Get ready for a series of anything goes conversations with remarkable men and women that will get you jazzed for life's unlimited possibilities of success, freedom, and fun. Welcome to Real Talk with Grace Redman.
Hey, loves, it's Grace Redman, and thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Real Talk, where I get to have real life, raw conversations with incredible people from my circles and communities who have overcome challenges and created amazing. Today, my incredible guest is Anthony Trucks. At the age of 3, Anthony entered the foster care system, facing staggering odds of homelessness and incarceration. Adopted at 14, Anthony discovered a life changing pattern: set a goal, hit a wall, overcome the obstacle, and achieve success. This mindset helped him defy the odds, earning a football scholarship to the University of Oregon and eventually a spot with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the NFL. When a career ending shoulder injury derailed his life, Anthony hit rock bottom, facing personal and professional struggles that almost cost him everything, including his family. A pivotal moment helped him realize that true success isn't just about achievements, it's about aligning with your identity and making a shift happen. This realization led him to create what he calls the work you do in the dark to win in the light. Today, Anthony is a former NFL player, 3-time American Ninja Warrior, top 1% global keynote speaker, and founder of the Dark Work Experience. He inspires individuals to embrace the hard, behind the scenes work that fuels transformational success and helps them make shift happen. Honestly, Anthony is one of the most committed, generous, and hardworking people I've had the privilege to know. So get ready for an exciting conversation and help me welcome Anthony Trucks. Hi,
Hello
Anthony.
there. How goes it?
How are you?
I'm doing well, hanging out, no complaints. It's a good day today. It's cold. It's actually a
It's
cold day. So I'm
it's cold. Whoa,
hanging out in my
it's cold.
sweatshirt today. Yeah.
I
I spent the
forgot to
morning.
mention that you are from the Bay Area.
I am from the Bay. Yeah, I'm born and raised. And then it's cold for us compared to like what typically is. There was ice in the grass this morning. My son and I went to the football field to throw the ball around, and the grass was all icy. But yeah, no, I'm good. No complaints. Life's good. Looking forward to hanging out with you.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to geeking out with you. But I feel you about the ice this morning. I had to take the water bottle and just pour it on we complain here
Yeah.
in California when it's like 40 degrees, right?
It's nothing for everybody else.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I know what you mean.
we're blessed. So I'm really looking forward to geeking out with you, Anthony.
Oh, let's do it. Let's dive
Let's do
in.
it.
Wherever you wanna
So,
know, my brain is a playground for you to bounce around in.
so what does it mean to do the dark work to win in the light?
Oh, it's a great question. So, think of it this way, the one thing is before I do something, I must know why I do it.
Mm,
So what I explain to people is I help individuals develop dominators' identities. What that means, it's the version of you that has a limitless sense of ridiculous power. You are confident, you are driven, you know how to govern yourself, you can exert control where needed. It's a sense of, just, power, like, you can step into any situation and handle it. That's what I call a dominator's identity, like, it doesn't mean you're dominating other people, just so you know. It's, in my opinion, dominating the weaker part of me that can't stay
mm,
disciplined, that makes excuses, that's inconsistent. That's the person I don't wanna be. I've gotta dominate them with the person I wanna be, right? So that's the first piece. That's why we do it. We develop that sense of self because that's who I want in the big moments in my life that matter. Now, what it is, essentially is work you do that it's not celebrated by the world. It's unsexy, it's often ridiculed, it's misunderstood. It's the things that you do that move the needle, but you don't get high fives for. Nobody's cheering for you to do it. And it's the stuff that your brain doesn't want to do. Like it's
mm.
the hard stuff. It's
Yeah.
the calls, the repeat motions and habits and actions you have to do. It's the different hard conversations. It's the people you got to deal with. It's just all these things behind the scenes. As an example, if I'm an executive of my company. If you're executive of a big company, also like let's say, a big Fortune 500, the dark work that person has to do is they're fielding calls that no one below them can handle. They're having these meetings with people to navigate how to be able to keep their sales at a certain. Their dark work is how to make the shareholders happy. But dark work could be different for the person at the front desk. The person at the
Mhm.
front desk, their dark work might be that they're having to go to school behind the scenes to be able to try to get a degree to get to a higher job and a better career. Maybe their dark work is they have a hobby going on. Maybe their dark work is in their relationship at home and they're parenting. Right? There's things that are happening outside of those moments that nobody sees, nobody
Mhm.
celebrates. They're difficult, but it allows them to become who they are in front of the light when they show up.
I love that. And so the dark work, what I'm hearing you say is those actions that we really don't want to do, or those habits that we need to cultivate to get to where we're going that most of us really just don't want to do.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not that you don't wanna do it, it's just it's hard to do. I mean, for example,
Hard.
I want to build muscle. It's hard to go to the gym and build muscle every day, right? I want to, I don't know, get great as a speaker, like, we wanna do. But it's hard to do the work to get great as a speaker. So it's not that I don't wanna do it, but it's like in the moment, there's strife.
There is.
There's that and the thing is everybody hits the same wall, but some people make good excuses to not have to climb the wall. The climbing of the wall that everybody runs into on the path to a destination everybody desires, that climb is your dark work.
Mm. And I feel you. You're right. It's like I get up and do it, but it's hard. And there's
Mhm.
times I don't want to do it. What would you say to the person who has this vision of their future self? However, they're really having a hard time getting up and taking the action. They just keep
Yeah,
making
yeah. Well, to be honest, the weaker version of your identity is winning.
yeah.
It's a battle. It's that same old school statement of like, there's 2 wolves inside of you, one is amazing, one's not. Which one wins? It's the one you feed, right? And it really
Mm,
is that simple, but it's also incredibly difficult because the truth is we're gonna get up on days and we're not gonna wanna do it. That's the weak wolf going like, "Hey, it's too early. It's cold outside. No one's gonna know. It's okay if you eat that real quick," right? And when that wolf gets fed because you stay lazy or you're inconsistent, like that wolf wins and it lives your life. But when
yeah.
you go, "No, that's not who I wanna be in the long run. I'm gonna do the thing I don't wanna do even though it needs to get done." Like, even it's like it's the push in a direction. So and it may not be you don't wanna do it, but right now, you don't wanna do it, right? Like, you go, "I wanna run a marathon, so I gotta run 5 miles a day." Yeah, when it's not time to run, sounds good. But when it's
Right.
5 in the morning, it's time to run, now it's like, right? And so, while we have to push and do things we don't wanna, here's the other part of it, the other side of that coin people fail to see. When you do get done with that hard thing, it's not that you just checked a box. There's an overwhelming sense of pride and confidence. Your brain gets a dopamine dump that feels amazing, right? If you think about anything you right now are proud of, I know things about you, what you've accomplished, what you've built and done, right? There's pride around some things.
For sure.
Those things you're proud of, you're proud because of how hard they were. You may not tell somebody like, "Oh, I'm proud because I was hard of it." You're proud because I pushed through. I'm proud because I XYZ. It just is another way of saying I am proud because it was hard and I still did it. And that's what all of us have to look at it and go, yeah, it's a difficult thing, but man, if you avoid the hard things, you miss out on all the great things that happen from doing that hard thing.
I love that because people always ask me, "How do you do it?" I said, "I love the results
Yeah.
more than the concept. Like I don't enjoy the consequences. I love the results, and that's
Mhm.
what keeps me going." Actually, I had you in my head this morning. I had
Yeah.
6 a.m. Workout, and I'm like, "Yeah, I wanted to
Yeah.
sleep." I heard
I
you,
do.
Dominator.
Gotta get it done, man. I was up this morning. I have no reason to have to get up in the morning when I do with my son, except for he's my boy, and I wanna see him do well. He doesn't
Yeah,
quite grasp it yet, though, because like, I adjust my life to make sure he gets what he needs from me. So, we get up at 5:30 in the mornings, and I could easily just not do that and be like, "Work on your own, bud," but I get up, and I don't even have workouts at that time sometimes. Like, sometimes I'm just there just for him to spot him. 5 in the
mhm,
morning. And so the reality is that those are the things that develop people is you do the things you don't want to do and it makes you great. Cause also I have pride around that. I feel like a good dad doing things that are hard to do, but we all have our own version of this stuff.
and I can relate to that because I continue to push the envelope because I think
Yeah.
about my family and they're
Mhm.
watching and,
Yeah.
being the person that defies the odds, like, you know that so well. When I watched your goal cast, I cried,
Mm.
and it was so inspiring because they always say, despite your circumstances, you can create amazing in a life that
Yeah.
you love.
Yeah.
So, what was, what made you defy the odds? Because you really did. You have an amazing
Yeah.
story.
I don't know. I think it was at the time just fed up with what life was providing me. I think that was it. I like most people that accomplish something, I don't believe we all set out with this complete, assurance in our heart we're going to be successful. I don't think that exists for a lot of folks. I believe that a lot of us know that what I'm doing isn't going to get me where I want to go. So if I change nothing, the path doesn't change. And so I had to develop those things in me. And I think it's like the whole like what they call it, the chicken or the egg kind of thing. Like,
Mhm,
was I determined and that's what made me successful, or was it the hardship that made me push forward and get the muscles to be successful? I don't know, right? Because the
mhm,
determination had to come from somewhere. Either I had it or I built it. Now, for me, I have a painting you can't see in my office, and it's always right there, so I can see it as I'm talking. And it says, "Smooth seas never made skilled sailors."
ooh,
And for me, I look at that and go, everything that happened to me, and it happens to all of us, we may not like it, but if we learn to appreciate it, it gives us something. Like, I
yes.
don't like what I went through. It wasn't fun. I wouldn't change it because I can appreciate who it made me. Because you said, what made you wanna go through and made you, be gritty? There wasn't anything more than the start of it was, I'm unsatisfied. I'm fed
Mhm,
up. Some has to move. And then I started doing things without a guarantee of success, but I just did them at full bore because I realized if I give anything less than that, then there's no guarantee. And on top of that, I'm getting the less opportunity to get the thing. Like, it's like if I want to win the raffle, if it's 100 tickets in a raffle, I want 100 tickets, right? But if I only give 50, I got half a chance of winning. So give full effort to get a full return. And so I started giving my energy. And then in doing that, you develop this idea of smooth seas. Like, you get into the rocky part of life and you navigate those seas and you learn how to be able to batten down the hatches and hang on to stuff. And then after a while, the rough sea becomes your normal sea.
mhm.
Not
Oh,
like normal in the seas like the ocean, but like they're normal. And now when everybody else is freaking out or a problem arises, I have the muscles to manage it, whereas most people just don't sometimes.
well, that the resilience, building the resilience muscles through the perseverance.
Yeah. I think resilience is interesting too, because I don't know. So resilience to me, I think, is a fight to stay in alignment in the direction of where a personal standard is. I know
Mm,
most people, resilience is to push forward and do it. Go, why do we? Like, why are we resilient? It's not for nothing. It's not for randomness. What I think it is, when I look at my resiliency, it's like, this is who I am, who I've worked myself to become. This is what I expect of myself or expect of life to provide for me. And what people look at and go, man, he won't quit. He's resilient. I go, no, I won't take anything less than what I believe I deserve, what I believe I've earned.
ooh, ooh, I won't take anything less than I believe I deserve.
Yeah. And it's looked at as resilience, where I'm like, nah, I don't know if you call it that. I'm like, if I know that's my piece of cake, I'm gonna get my piece of cake, man. Like,
I love that. And I think most of us struggle with, I think that comes to the feeling of worthiness
oh
also.
yeah, yeah. I think
That's mine. I'm locked in. It's not
mhm,
the resilience, it's like, I know what I want and I'm going for it. So you have that
yeah.
conviction.
Whole
A
different, it's a different way of looking at life. Yeah.
and you put the work in. I mean, I see you. Really, I meant it when I said it. Um, you just show up and do the work and just your generosity. It's inspiring. You
Thank you.
inspire me to be better, to do better. Something that you
Thank you.
talk about is the hustle harmony, and I really
Mm,
struggle with the hustle and grind. I mean, I've burnt out because I get excited. It's not that, I wanna do it to prove myself at this point, is I get excited, and I start hustling and grinding, and then I'm like, "Okay, you need to stop, get some,
mm.
pause."
Yeah.
What does hustle harmony mean to you? Like, I don't wanna burn out. I
Hustle
still wanna
harmony.
hustle.
Yeah, they say that the way you do one thing's the way you do everything, and if you're a go-getter, like, you get after it, then you go, right? But the hard part is sometimes we're trying to be all things at the same energy level everywhere, and I don't think it's possible. Like, the way
Ooh,
that I show up as a dad and as a husband and as a coach, right? Those I can't give that same energy everywhere because let's be honest, if I was to show up like for work 6 to 8 hours a day. If I showed up like that, like with my kids, 6 to 8 hours, they'd be tired of me. Like, Dad, is too much. Like, just chill out. Let me take a break. And I get that because it's just too much. But the harmony is a big piece. What it looks like is for me, I go, there is a certain amount of time I'll allocate to different places and I'll
Mm,
give the full energy, but it keeps harmony in my life and it keeps everything, in the flow it's supposed to be. And it can also be seasons of life, right? There might be let's say if it's a harmony, let's like akin it to like music. Let's say my career is like the guitar, my marriage is like the harp, family collectively could be like the piano. If it's a song, well, when the holidays hit and the end of the year, it's gonna be pretty heavy on a piano, right? But then when January hits and its business picks up, the guitar's going strong. But the harp's always in the background. I got to keep my relationship anchored and strong. Like, so there's this harmony of different things. And you might have a drum solo, you might have a piano solo, right? You might have these windows of time like vacation, it's piano solo. Right now, we're heavy on the guitar. It's the guitar time in the day. And so if I look at my life like how to create harmony, I go, how to make all these things move smooth together with the right tempo, the right, like loudness, we'll call it. And it allows me to stay at the tick that I feel aligned with. Like I hustle and get down without jeopardizing something else. Cause no one wants a song with just someone banging the piano all day or just the same tune of the guitar all day. Right. So the idea is
totally.
how do I make all these things move smooth while still keeping at the level I like to operate in when I show up to those moments?
I love that. And I was thinking about that yesterday when I was reflecting and I was saying, Grace, there's seasons. There's seasons when you are gonna, hustle, in the business. And then, maybe the season next week might be okay. Now you're focused on your family because I know we
Mhm.
always talk about instead of compartmentalizing both, and you're really big at this, is integrating. How do we integrate our personal and
Yeah.
professional life? Because we're a whole person, not a
Yeah.
fragmented person.
I get it.
And then, something I love that you talk about is the imposter syndrome. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about your perspective on the imposter syndrome.
I think imposter syndrome is a language term we use that is just a way to take up the space of someone who's unprepared and or lazy. It's and I'm being honest. Like I'll give you the far stretch of this. When I was in the NFL and I played, I never had a feeling where I went in the field and go, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. Oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna be successful. And the people that we look at the goats and what they do, not just sports and anything, they don't show up with this like, oh my gosh, what if I mess up? And I go, well, why don't they? Why don't they show up? Why don't I show up with that mentality? And what it was is this thing where the thing I didn't know, like the unknown, I had a confidence that was like, yeah, but I show up to that unknown, me.
Mm.
And why am I confident in me? It was because I prepared. I did all the things in preparation. Now, when people go, I don't know if I can, I don't know if I'm the person for it, then that tells me you just didn't prepare at a level that makes you feel like you're the one. Like when you prepare and you do that work in the dark and you build up the uncomfortable, you don't have a mentality of what if I mess up? It's hey, let me loose. They
Yeah.
have no idea what's about. And that's what I want people to have. And that's all it really is. Imposter is like this. I don't know if I'm ready or confident. I go, you're just unprepared, which
Mm,
means in the preparation leading up, you need to push hard. And I tell my son even now, it's been a heavier thing recently. I don't know why, but I go, if you feel comfortable, you should question it. If you
mm,
feel comfortable in your day and just like it's almost like it's too smooth, question it. Here's why. Until you have everything out of life you want, there should be a little party that's going, I gotta keep going. There's something more beyond this. Doesn't mean at a level that creates anxiety or stress. I'm not saying that,
no, I
but
hear you.
you should have that when you get up in the morning, you go like, I gotta find that discomfort because the discomfort is the key to my next level. And if I'm too comfortable, that means I'm gonna get what I have, nothing more. So
Mhm.
if I can find the place of discomfort and lean in, I'll prepare differently. I'm not gonna show up to a moment later on going, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for it. I'm gonna go like, I can't wait to get out there. I've over prepared for this. I'm ready for it.
I love that, and I could relate to that. Um, and you know what, Anthony? I'm really uncomfortable in my life right now, but it's because I know
Yeah,
that there's,
good.
elevate, there's something coming. So it does not
Yeah.
feel good to be uncomfortable, and I know that's where the growth
No.
happens. And
But think about when
and
you
I
work out, it burns. It burns when you
yeah,
lift weights, but the lifting of the weight and the burn, the discomfort is what makes the muscle grow, right? It's all right there in front of us. And while we say we want something, the growth is the piece that's the pain. And most people want to avoid the pain but get the growth. Doesn't
Yeah,
work
and
that way.
that's not possible at all. I mean, I know that from
Yeah.
experience. And I love your perspective on imposter syndrome. And it had me thinking because I did have to give a speech not too long ago, and someone asked me, "Are you nervous?" And in that particular instant, I said, "No, I'm not," because I had spent literally at least 7, 8 hours preparing, and I never
Yeah.
thought about that. I never thought about, well, I wasn't, nervous because I was prepared. So that's something I
Yeah.
definitely want to take away is when we're prepared, we
Yeah.
feel more confident.
Yeah.
And then
Everybody.
something else I love that you said, which, is be a slave to the calendar and a
Mhm.
slave to the dream. But then that
Yeah.
feels like so
Yeah.
heavy. I'm like, I want to have some fun. I don't,
Well,
I know I have
no.
my calendar's heavy too. And you taught me like, hey, block that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
how
Well,
can we make it feel more fun? Like infuse the
well,
fun
first thing
in.
is, yeah, well, you got to put it in there. So first off, if you have a good scheduled calendar, you should have time that is like I'm rocking and rolling. And then for me, like today, I have a webinar, but typically at 3 o'clock, I'm off. And I don't do
Mm,
anything after that. I'm just here, right? But I can do that because of what I get done during the day leading into it. But here's what I say: you should be a slave to your calendar. Your calendar should be a slave to your dreams.
mhm.
And in that, you can't, I mean, you can't hard charge 24/7, you're gonna burn out, right? So for
Oh,
me, I go, my calendar is structured in a way to deliver to me the dream I want if I follow it. With that, I have to be mindful of how I'm putting things into that, right? So there should be for sure a lot of things that are work in a time to work. But then if I do it properly and plan it properly, I can have a blank space and I do nothing, but I can do nothing because I know I can trust that the rest of the days have already input into them the other things I have to do when that time calls to still be on the path to where I got to go. So like you may not get you're not getting everything done in one day. It's okay.
no.
Like sometimes my team is instructed to fill my calendar in up to 6 weeks out with tasks that are in my thing now, like my to-do list. And I go, it's okay if that one's 6 weeks out. Like I'll get to it, but it's going to be in the window of time throughout the day. And if I do it properly, I'm going to get what I want done. I'm accomplish my goals, right? I'm a slave to that moment in time. Even if I show up and don't feel like filming the video, writing the email, filling this thing out, building this system, right? I may not feel like doing it, but it's in my calendar. I'm going to get it done. But then when I get it done, I feel good. The day
Mhm,
closes up. I can do whatever I want, knowing I am right where I'm supposed to be. If you
mhm,
don't do that, then now you're a slave to your emotions. And when you're a
mhm,
slave to your emotions, it's tough because 'cause you're battling yourself. You're also gonna beat yourself up because your emotions don't want to do it, so you don't do it, and you go like, "Why do I suck at this?" And then that's a whole spiraling downhill, where I remove the emotional feel. I go, "Previous me is a slave to my dream. My dream is in this calendar where it's supposed to be, step by step to get there. I gotta follow the calendar. So if it's 2 o'clock and it says, 'Do this,' I'm here at 2 o'clock. If at 3 o'clock it says, 'Do nothing,' oh, I'm doing nothing." And I just
sit in
work
that
like that.
sauna.
Yeah, man, Sonic. I go in the hot tub, hang out, yeah, all day long.
And so when you talk about the calendar and locking everything down in the calendar, what happens when there something just comes and throws your day out of whack? Because life happens, lifes. What happens in that instance?
Yeah. Well, one is I make sure I'm aware that there needs to be, like, release valve portions of my day. So
Mm,
twice a week, we have windows woven into my schedule that are just like nothing. Like, there's an hour of nothing, so I can catch up if needed. Because there are like, this week, I have a task to finish an assessment for our company, and it's taking, like, way long. I'm talking we set it for 2 hours. I'm already at 6 hours for doing it. Now, I found that I have to put some of that in the release valve time. I've also had to move some things that were just be like Friday type things next Monday. You just move it around modularly. But the idea is this: if I don't have this, like my schedule is structured in a modular manner, hour by hour. I can move it around if need be. If I don't do that, what happens is I go, oh my gosh, I needed to get this done today and I didn't. Oh, I suck and I'm off track now. And I'll stay off track for a month.
mm,
We'll just float around. I don't dive back in. Whereas for me, I can go, okay, I missed that. Cool. Move that to tomorrow. Move this to next week. Change this. Move this into the space, our release valve time. Let's get back to it.
Mm.
So like the very next day or the same day, sometimes I'm right back on track so I can stay in motion. But I have to give myself grace to realize life is going to provide for me moments I'm not prepared for, but I can prepare for an unprepared moment.
I love that nugget. Prepare for the unprepared moment. What does preparing for the unprepared moment look like? Because I think we're
S-
constantly preparing.
Yeah, space and grace. Give myself space to do it. Give myself grace for having messed it up and fix it.
Mhm,
Like if
mhm,
I go long in something and I beat myself up, it'd be stupid to stew in it because now I'm wasting time. I could be working on something, complaining to myself and being mad at myself. And then if I give myself space in my calendar, then when something happens, I just can move things into that space. And
mhm.
when I say modular, like I have projects broken down to the hours. If it's 6 hours, it's a six separate hours I put in, not just one block of chunk. So I can move it around as needed. And that allows me to say I can move the space, give myself some grace, dive back in, navigate it, I'm done.
So very, disciplined, committed, consistent.
Mhm.
What do you believe makes people lack that type of discipline?
It's interesting. I think it's lack of knowing themselves and how long things take for them to do. So it's not fully grasping your skill set or your delegation ability. It's one piece. And then I think two, they haven't done it enough to create a personal standard of it to maintain it when they don't want to. I've had people tell me, I'd love to do a daily podcast amp, but I'm just not disciplined like you. And I go,
Mhm,
you don't get it. Like you can't lift weights. Let's say you can't get strong, like lift weights without having lifted weights. You need a weight to lift to be a good weight lifter, if that makes sense. And so I go, it's not that I started the podcast because I was disciplined and consistent. I started it to give me the opportunity to get disciplined and consistent.
mm.
Like I needed something to put myself into the container that required that of myself. And so for most of us, like we're wondering, like, how do you develop that? You just do something that forces you to develop that, which we can all do.
We can, and we know that most of us don't do those things. So
Yeah.
what is mindset? How does mindset come into play to all of
Yeah.
this?
It's interesting. Mindset's always just this. Well, obviously, you have a fixed mindset, a growth mindset. I think the base of what it is for me, that's the most I go into it. Because I believe there are some people that go, I can do it or I can't do it, right? And they lock in, or I'll never do it. I'm not smart enough. And so that fixed mindset, obviously, no, it's like you're locked there. This what you get, what you have is what you're going to get. The growth says I can get better. I think it's the base of it. Beyond that, I don't think that I function every day thinking about my mindset. Most people are functioning every day thinking about who am I? Am I living in alignment with who I see myself to be? This is good or
Mm,
bad. Like if you're a person that's a criminal, my guess is if you start doing things that are like good and nice, people look at you like, "But what are you doing?" All of a sudden, you're nice. You crossing the street, helping people out. Like, oh, it's out of character. You're not in alignment with who you are. On the flip side, if you're a person that's a pastor, or in some manner, like you're going to live in a way when somebody cuts you off that is in alignment with who you see yourself to be. I'm not going to cuss them out. I'm not going to track them down and throw quarters at their car. Like so. The idea is I think a lot of us we're trying to look at mindset like it's this thing that I'm actually thinking about. And I go, no, I think more of what it is a way that I see myself.
mm,
Within that is a mindset, but I'm looking at this is who I am. So if I say I'm going to do this or I believe myself to be this, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to live in alignment with that, right? And that's more of a draw than mindset. So if you say I am the person who every day I make, I get food for the office, I bring donuts into the office, right? It's who I'm the donut man, right? Identify as the donut man. So now every single day, what you do is you do the thing that gets you in place of getting the donuts for the rest of the group because you see yourself that way. If it's probably hard because you have to get up every day earlier and go to this one place, you might catch traffic, right? But imagine if one day you didn't do it. You're gonna feel like, oh man, I'm not who I am, and it's whatever. So it's like this thing that's probably pretty difficult. It's easier for you to do it than to not do it at this point. That's an
yes.
identity thing. I don't think he goes, my mindset says get donuts every day. He goes, no, I'm the donut guy. This is what the donut guy does. If the donut guy doesn't do this thing, I'm not the donut guy anymore. And so whatever that looks like, I'm the great dad, I'm the great mom, the great leader, the great business owner, the great speaker, whatever that is. There are certain things where if you start falling outside of who that person is with your actions, you feel uncomfortable. I don't think
Mm.
that's a mindset thing. I think it's a personal identity thing.
Oh, I love that. I've never heard it that way. So if I have a vision of my identity and who I am, then I'm naturally going to take action and take the steps because that's just I'm embodying who I my
Continue,
identity.
yeah, to continue being who you are, because we all wanna go to bed at night feeling good about ourselves, and
Mhm.
if you do something out of whack or you don't do something that's supposed to be done by you, it's hard to go to bed at night and not have done that. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a person that every single night you kiss your kids, goodnight, and then one night you forget and it's 2 in the morning, you'll be like, "Oh, shoot." You'll get up, go to your kids and kiss them and go back to bed.
Mhm.
Why? Like, they're not gonna remember. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, right, in the long run, but it's who you are. And
Mm.
so it's that desire to still be, like, looking at myself in the mirror going, "I see you, and I respect you. I know who you are." And I think the harder things we do, the harder it is to not do those things. 'Cause,
Mhm.
like, it becomes a sense of self, and it becomes this pride and this confidence, and when you taste pride and confidence at a certain level, even if the thing you had to do is so hard to get there, you'll keep doing it because this tastes so good. And so people will continue doing hard workouts or, building big businesses and having these things take place, and people go, "Oh, you're amazing." It's like, at this point, it's hard for them not to make that amount of money each year. If they
Yes.
made 20 million this year and they only made 10, they'd be like, "Well, who am I?" Right? There's a fight to stay at a level, and so the big thing for me is, like, you gotta do the work to push your envelope up, feel that level of alignment, and then you'll find you almost naturally it's
Mhm.
easier to stay there. Like, they say it's harder to become like, they say the first million is difficult. The second million's inevitable,
I've heard
income-wise,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Because the first million is difficult to become the kind of person that makes
Right.
$1,000,000. Once you get there, it's who you are now. It's
That's it.
inevitable to again.
I love that. And, the better it gets, the better it gets.
Mhm.
And although, it is uncomfortable, however, the more you grow and expand, in my experience, the better my life, my family's life, it just and then you get addicted um, to that feeling. I mean, not that everything's perfect, challenges, there's challenges. However, just when you keep elevating and you have those standards for yourself, like you said, you can't, like, I can't settle for anything less.
Yeah.
So now I know what you mean. Like, I feel it in my body, like, to just keep, like, my brother's like, "Aren't you done? Don't you just want to retire?" And I'm like, "No, there was
Mm.
no way that I could do because I feel it in my body." And
Yeah.
you just really illustrated it so beautiful. Like, we get to a place like, this is a new identity. You can't not show up who you are at this
Yeah,
point.
who you are now. Yeah,
I love
for sure.
that. I love that. So you're amazing. I mean, faced so many challenges, definitely defied the odds. What do you believe has been one of the most challenging experiences you faced, and what was a lesson once you got to the other side of it?
Uh, I think it's what we all face, which is I have a desire to do something, and I expect the people in my life to fully support me and be my cheerleaders, you know? That's not the case. In fact, most people see you in a certain way, and you operating different than that, it becomes aware to them, and they want you to go back to what they know. People
Mhm.
don't like change. Their brain doesn't like change. So when you start changing on them, even if it's good, they're gonna be like, "What are you doing?" Right? So say you're in a group of people who are all obese, and one person starts getting in shape. It's obviously good for you. It's better for your health overall. But they're gonna be like, "What are you doing? All of a sudden you're too good to eat a burrito with us?" Like, no, it has nothing to do with that. That's not what it is at all, right? So I say it to go. For me, I had people in my life go, "Man, dude, we're gonna be a speaker. We're gonna go and be a personality. We're gonna go talk on stage. You're gonna run events. What are you doing? That's not. We don't come from that, you know." And what they mean well, it's just they were aware I was stepping out of the box, and they needed me to go back in the box for them. I just wasn't willing to go back in the box, and so the hardest thing for me was having to push against the, I would say, acceptance of the people I wanted to accept me the most or lack thereof, and having to still move without anybody else cheering me on but me. And
Mm,
when you learn to do that, when that becomes a center point of me doing this doesn't mean I'm mad at somebody. I'm not mad that they didn't support me. I'm not mad that you're doing, I'm not at all. I just know what I'm capable of. So I'm going to keep on pressing along. As long as I'm not hurting you, I'm not detracting from what you got going in life. Let me do me. And you do that. And eventually they go from people that go, "What are you doing?" to like, "Holy crap, congrats."
I
And so
love
the
that.
hard thing for me was be able to stay in that groove by myself with only me essentially as the cheerleader.
I can feel you on that. And sometimes it gets lonely.
Yeah.
Um, but like you said, I'm not giving up on me. I love that because I don't know who it was talking about. If you're doing this and you want to go to, elite, yeah, high performer, elite status,
Mhm.
they showed a slide. You're going to be on that road alone because here's where everyone else is on the busy freeway. And so
Yeah.
you just really affirm that, and it's okay because also you become inspiring to the people around. You never know who's
Mm,
watching. So I
yeah.
know a lot of people are watching you. You definitely very inspiring, and I'm so grateful to have you here with us today. I know you have a busy schedule, and I want to be respectful of your time. What is one last nugget you can leave us with?
One last nugget. I don't know. It's gonna be the same thing as I will say this. The doing of the dark work is one piece. You got to do the work. The
Yeah,
biggest thing people miss out on is what work they should do. That's usually the harder one because it means you have to go take a look at yourself and find your deficiencies.
yeah.
What I'd recommend you do is find someone in your life who will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, and ask them this simple question. If you could adjust one thing about how I function to make me better in life, what would that be? And your job when you say this is to go, I also cannot refute, rebut, or justify anything that you say to me. I just have to listen to it, absorb it, and then walk away. And
Woo!
then let that person say what they gotta say, and then you'll find out from people that see you different. Because the thing is a great statement I love by a guy named Harvey McKay, and he says, "The biggest room in the world is the room for improvement."
Mm,
And for a lot of us, we can all get better, but we have to give ourselves permission to do so, which means we're not perfect. Another statement I love, which is from a guy named Tim Murphy, I think, and it says, "It's hard to see the label when you're inside of the jar."
ooh,
So for a lot of us, other people can see our label. We can't. But we're sitting here in this jar going, why isn't it filled and amazing? And they're looking at it going, oh, because the label says this. So if you ask that person what the label says, it helps you.
I love it. And that's not an easy thing to do. I've definitely been humbled by that.
Yeah, we all have at times because sometimes most of the time it's given without asking for it. It's just kind of like just thrown at you, like, "Hey, man, you guys stop doing that." It's like, well, I don't even know you, like But if I ask for it, it's different.
Right, right. Oh, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you. And can you let our audience know where to find you? And we'll also add your information, but help us
Yeah,
out.
just go to darkwork.com or anthonytrucks.com. Social
Oh,
media is Instagram at Anthony Trucks.
yeah, and we'll also have those links there. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And please share, like, and subscribe so we can continue to bring you incredible guests like Anthony Trucks. Anthony, thank you so much. I
Welcome. Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Hey, love, thank you so much for listening today. I am so grateful for you. I'd like to show you my appreciation by gifting you a free forgiveness self-hypnosis audio download. Part of living the fun and fabulous life is practicing forgiveness. Forgiveness can be such a long and challenging process. My intention is that this forgiveness audio will help you in practicing forgiveness, especially with yourself. Grab it by visiting daretoachieve.com/forgiveness. For more inspiring tips, make sure to connect with me on social media. Drop me a line on Facebook or Instagram at Grace Redman Dare to Achieve. Until next time, keep moving forward towards living your fabulous life.